What's going on, y'all? So I decided that I'm gonna pivot for a little bit and talk about something a bit different, which is a bit more on the personal side. And what I wanted to primarily talk about right now is just my experience of living by myself, living alone for the past 4 years. And I just kind of want to, just briefly describe my experience, my mindset, my perspective, why I decided to live alone instead of just like, living with someone else or leaving home, etc. So I'm gonna start here. Before, pretty much before COVID hit, or pretty much before the pandemic, I decided that, you know what? I learned everything that it is that I need to learn about being at home. So I'm just going to go out. I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to see where it goes from there. So I decided to leave home around that time and, just trying to just make things happen on my own. And I learned a lot. And one of the main things that I learned about being by myself is that it's all on me. It's all on me, and nobody's coming to save me, which means I had to be the one to make things work. So, a lot of times, especially when when you're in an environment where in which you're surrounded by family, etc., it's very easy to depend on someone or to reach out to someone when something goes wrong. Whereas if you're on your own, you're like forced to make things work. It's kind of like a do or die mentality, and it forces you to actually be creative, be more frugal, and it forces you to figure out how it is that now you could only survive in the beginning, but actually to start putting yourself in position to thrive. And another element that I want to touch about that I learned about being by myself is that it's quiet. It's quiet, and it's what I mean by it's quiet is that again, I don't have family around me. So if anything, if I have to go talk to them, I might have to go to where it is that they are, or I might have to actually make a phone call. But honestly, I've been so focused, so busy, and so on my grind that I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I hardly even see my family, and it's not because I don't love them. Obviously, it's because I got my own thing going on, and I'm focused on trying to make things work for myself. And a lot of times, and this is just a side note. People like to guilt trip you for doing certain things or living your life a certain type of way. And it's unfortunate because everybody's on their own path. And if you really are intentional about reaching that next level, whatever that may be, or getting to that next phase of your life or leveling up, etc., this isn't really a video about leveling up, but just in general, if you have a vision and you're trying to execute upon it, people are going to try to make you feel guilty in whatever small way that they can. And it kind of speaks into the last video that I put out, is that everybody is just simply programmed to operate a certain type of way. And you have to take it upon yourself to be like, you know what? I'm going to unlearn this nonsense and I'm going to relearn a whole bunch of other shit that's actually going to be of benefit to me, so that I can actually be a beneficiary, or not so much as a beneficiary, so people can benefit off of my greatness. You know what I mean? So it gets really lonely. And what I mean by lonely is I say that in the beginning, but you adjust to the solitude. And it's kind of funny because I actually consider my own spot, this apartment that I'm living right now, I kind of consider it my in the beginning, especially, as my bat cave. Now, if you're unfamiliar, bat cave is like the hideout of the Batman. That's where all of his technology is, or where he does all his detective work, all his research, where he does his training. Everything was within the bat cave. And then it evolved to become the Fortress of Solitude, which is like Superman's hideout, where he goes to meditate and reflect and dive deeper into himself while also doing the training. And I'm trying to meld the two between the Forces of Solitude and the Batcave so I can actually add the best of both. And this is really a place where I come where I can just, meditate in peace, read in peace. I can govern myself based on my own rules, and I can say, you know what? I think I could do it much better. Let me try it my way, and then let me try to leverage what worked for other people so that I can actually put it into what it is that I'm doing. And just kind of go from there. And a lot of the great ideas that I've had, and then the confidence and everything else that came along with it, is just me being in the zone and me being in an area where I'm isolated and alone and by myself in solitude. And that's the thing about living alone that most people, it's not that I don't get it, it's that it's not something that's talked about very often, but it's something that most people, I honestly believe that most people can't handle. And most people can't handle the isolating part of it. They can't handle the solitude part of it. People, I'm just going to be honest with you. Most people cannot be by themselves. And if you want to have a degree of self-realization and self-confidence, and if you want to truly know who it is that you are, there are ways to go about doing it. Push yourself in the gym is one, going on a long run is another, because you're going to have a voice that's going to tell you to stop, slow down, etc. And you have a choice to either listen to that voice or push past that voice and actually continue to execute. Another voice that you're going to hear is that when you're living by yourself, it can be very quiet sometimes. And you start to hear your own thoughts, and it becomes, how can I say this? Now, for me personally, just speaking on my experience, I'm more adjusted to living alone because I've never really fallen into groupthink. I'm not really a group person. I'm more of a solo artist myself. But if I have to interact with a group and I have to interact with people and I have to do public speaking, which I have done all three, then I can do that. And I can do that easily and effortlessly. It's not an issue for me. It's just that for me personally, I prefer to be alone because that's when I feel like I'm closest to God. That's when I feel like I'm closest to my highest ideal. I can actually sit quietly in my room and visualize my greatest self and then figure out how I can reverse engineer it to where I can reach that self. That greatest version of myself has money, he has muscle, he has resources, he is a positive influence on his environment, he doesn't cave into distractions, he's focused, he's driven, he's ambitious. Now I got to work backwards to figure out how is it that I can get forwards to that. And it's very easy, at least for me, to live alone and think about this because I'm with my own thoughts and I can focus on whatever it is that I need to focus on without being distracted, and then that's another thing about living alone. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. Like, obviously the rent has to be paid, bills have to be paid, etc. I'm not talking about any of that. If you're the same next year as you were last year, or the same this year as you were last year, you fucked up somewhere and you've done something wrong. And you have not done the self-work, or when you live alone, you're accountable to you, and you realize that very quickly. That's something that you must realize very quickly, or you will sink. You will fall and you will sink. And, for me, it hasn't really been that much of a big of deal, if I'm going to be honest with you. I can kind of like go under my own rules, live by my own principles. And I'm not saying like I have like I just go out and just do whatever it is that I want recklessly. That's not what I'm saying. Like, obviously I go by a structure. Obviously I live very structured. I haven't I'm going to be honest, any free time today. I just been busy. I've been at work. I went to the gym. Obviously, I cleaned up. I cleaned up a few things here. I practiced my Spanish. And now I'm going to record this content for you guys, which you will probably see sometime in the morning. And before I have to get up at 3 a.m. and do it all over again. You know what I mean? And I may actually do some studying before I actually go to sleep. I realize, especially for me living alone, it's all on me. Everything is on me. Everything is on me, and I have to be the one to make it work. Another thing is, not only have to look out for me, but you know what? Forget all that. I want to talk about like the more interesting stuff. Like, you're just left alone with your own thoughts. It's just you. And I know that some of you, like, you're not used to being by yourselves, but I actually implore you guys, even if you can't really live alone or you don't have the means to live by yourself, you don't even have to do all that. You just need to be in a period of isolation. You just need to figure out who it is that you are, why you were put on this earth, and you just need to execute. And for me, living alone has granted me that opportunity to do so. And I think another reason why I actually like living alone is that I go by my own rules, and I'm liberated to the point where I can do things my own way. And luckily for me, I'm self-aware to the point to where I can identify what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I can toss out what doesn't work, and I can start embracing the things that do work. So, for example, I have a TV in my living room, but to be honest with you, I hardly use it. I have no subscriptions, no nothing. I hardly use it. The only time I actually use it is if I have to throw YouTube on the screen, for example, while I'm eating something. Other than that, I don't use it. I don't use it to play video games. I don't use it to. I just don't use it because I'm focused. And it's strange because you don't have to deal with the distractions as being at home, but at the same time that comes with its own disadvantage. You don't actually have the help of being at home either. Now, there's nothing wrong with actually living with your parents to a certain age because you got to get your money up, you got to get your bag up, you got to get your resources up so you can actually be best positioned to be prepared to face the world. But I decided to just throw myself out there, throw myself into it because when I put myself in situations where I have to sink and swim, most times I end up swimming, and this is kind of like the best way for me to learn. So I don't really have any problems with living alone. Now, another aspect that people don't really talk about too much is like I kind of touched on and alluded to earlier, people do get lonely. It does kind of get lonely sometimes. So if you can't just deal with that, and it's not like it has to stay that way. You can still go out and you can still communicate to people, etc. But most people are just afraid to be by themselves. Not just living by themselves, but just in general. And it's unfortunate because you're robbing yourself of your highest ideal because either you're afraid or like to embrace the familiar, or you just cannot be by yourself. You're disconnected with yourself. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to make this into too deep of a video as to why I prefer to live alone. It's just that I just prefer to live alone because it's the best environment for me to learn and to grow. And people don't really take advantage of that the way that they should. They think, oh, I'm free from my parents. I'm free from my family to do what it is, this and that. I look at it from a completely different lens. I look at it from the sense of, okay, now I have to make this work. Because if I don't make this work, it's on me. If I do make this work, I'm also taking the credit for it because I've been put in a situation to where I'm forced to actually make things work and have things work out. And it's like, okay, at some point it goes beyond mere survival. You just got to learn how to thrive and upgrade from there. So it puts me in a space to where I can actually connect to source, to God, whatever, and I just go forward from there. And personally, I haven't had any really major issues living alone. I mean, I had my instances of my problems here and there, especially with neighbors and suspicious activities and stuff like that, but that just comes with the territory. You also have to have a degree of courage too. And listen, I'm not saying that y'all should do this. This is not something that's for everybody. I'm just telling you the reasons why what my experience of living alone is and what it has taught me and how it has enabled me to grow into a greater version of myself than I was 4 years ago when I first started. 100%. Everything has gotten better. And it may not be the path for you. I'm just telling you what works for me. You could take it for as you will. You could take it for what it is with a grain of salt, whatever. If the shoe fits, wear it. If not, okay, toss it out. But yeah, this is just I don't mean to rag on this for too long. It's just, now will it stay this way moving forward? Maybe not. I wouldn't mind if it did. I'm not tripping out on it. I don't really get scary about it, honestly. I'm so used to it. It's kind of like, I think the main reason why I love living by myself is the peace. It's the peace aspect. It's the peaceful aspect that comes with it. It's the peace knowing that I can come and go as I please. It's the peace knowing that most times it can be quiet. It's the peace knowing that this is like a sanctuary for me to come through, to retreat into, and to actually come to like a bat cave or a fortress of solitude to just learn, to grow, to retreat into myself, to meditate within myself, to develop, to, pour into myself. Or it's just nice to know that I have a place that I can go to and just relax and just chill. And I don't have any drama coming home. I don't have, you know, certain people that I may or may not get along with, or there's some craziness or some unexpected guests that arrived, and then I have to kind of like be out there just to kind of like help entertain them, etc. Or I have to like do this, and that, or like stuff like just you just being around the house, just and I don't have to be called to do like miscellaneous tasks that actually take time away from me, what it is that I tend to do for myself. Like, I'm very intentional with my time. I think that's the number one thing that I like about being alone most is the peace aspect. All right. So I'm going to end it here. Look, that's just some reasons why I like to prefer to live alone. Now, if you resonate with that, cool. If not, it is what it is. But this isn't for everybody. That's a very important disclaimer. This isn't for everybody. You may have to get a roommate. You may have to, maybe you like to do with a friend, family member, etc. Me, I can't help it. Like, I'm a solo artist. I prefer to do things my way. And I'm self-aware to know that I don't let the ego get in the way, preventing me from being greater. You know what I mean? So I just kind of prefer doing things my own way. I walk my own path. I blaze my own trail. I set my own trends. I don't fall into groupthink. I am what I am, and I just rock with what it is that I do naturally. If it's cool with me, I go for it. If I don't like it, I don't go for it. I don't care about. I'm not so easily influenced like that. So I'm a supremely individualistic individual. So take it for what you will. All right. Maybe this is for you, maybe not. But either way, it really doesn't matter. Those are my experiences. Those are highlighting the positive and the negatives of living by yourself. And that's what it is. All right. I'm going to catch you all in the next one. Deuces.